G'day guys, welcome back to Reach Me or Teach Me, back on the NFL train today with the top 10 greatest dynasties in NFL history. Obviously knowing very little about the game, I am only really going to say maybe Patriots, Chicago Bears, maybe the Browns, the Ravens, Steelers, maybe the Seahawks, and that's all I'm aware of. But anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoy this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let's go.
Winning in the NFL is incredibly hard. It takes a blend of elite players, superb coaching, and quite a bit of luck to win one Super Bowl. So when one team can win multiple in a short period of time, those teams become legends. Stories handed down by generations for decades to come. These teams are so few and far between, we call them dynasties. Today, we take a look at the top 10 dynasties in NFL history. The Washington Redskins, 1982 to 1992.
Okay.
Under legendary coach Joe Gibbs, the Redskins had a decade-long run of success. Utilizing a unique offense, players became plug-and-play on their way to 3 Super Bowl championships and 4 Super Bowl appearances. A true testament to coaching and team building. The Redskins had different Super Bowl MVPs in all 3 championships. Some of the NFL's most iconic teams come from the Redskins dynasty. The Run-Riggins Run 1983 Washington team was a Super Bowl champ with 26 free agents, completely unheard of at the time. Doug Williams became the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl with the Redskins in 1988. The Hogs ran wild on the Buffalo Bills in 1991 after being mocked by a Buffalo assistant coach in an obscure interview that Joe Gibbs got his hands on for a pre-game motivational speech. While they may have been unable to return to the glory of the mid-80s Redskins since Joe Gibbs left, the mark they left on the NFL will forever be remembered.
Okay, so he said plug and play, and that they had 3 different MVPs, I think it was. And I reckon that's interesting. They obviously had a really good system in place where they could essentially plug and play different players in different positions and still, or if a great way to overcome things like injuries and all the rest of it, which are always a problem in a championship hunt. Very interesting. Very interesting. That sounds like, rather than having a series of phenomenally talented high-level elite players, they had a phenomenally talented high-level elite system, if that makes sense, that brought the best out of everybody in that whole group.
Chicago Bears, 1940 to 1946. The NFL looked vastly different in the 40s, but not many teams ran roughshod on the era like George Halas's Bears did. With the championship near their grasp every season in the 1930s, the Chicago Bears never broke through the glass ceiling. However, they did in 1940, accomplishing a feat that is still yet to be repeated. After losing a regular season game to the Washington Redskins, 7-3, they beat them in the championship game with the most lopsided score in history, 73-0. The officials had to ask the Bears not to kick any more extra points as they ran out of footballs flying through the uprights and into the crowd. Led by the legendary Bronco Nagurski and the Hall of Fame running back George McCaffrey.
Wait, so you guys don't throw them back on the field? Once the field goal's kicked, that's it? The fans get to keep the ball? Interesting.
To ask the Bears not to kick any more extra points as they ran out of footballs flying through the uprights and into the crowd. Led by the legendary Bronco Nagurski and the Hall of Fame running back George McCaffrey, they repeated as champs in 1941. Players leaving to enlist in World War II put the Bears dynasty on pause. They lost the championship in '42, but returned to win in 1943. After World War II ended, the players on the original championship team came back for one last dance in 1946, winning their 4th championship in 7 years. The 1940s Bears were one of the most original football dynasties. The Oakland LA Raiders, 1974 to 1985. Remembered more now for a video game with his name on it. John Madden holds the record for winning percentages among coaches, 76%. In the early years of the merger, Oakland and then...
Wait, I didn't even know he was a coach. That shows how limited I am. I just thought he was a commentator. But he's not just a coach. He's got like ridiculous the win percentage.
Los
Wow.
Angeles was the standard for success. Even before they began winning Super Bowls, they competed in the playoffs nearly every year in the 70s. In his last year with the Raiders, Madden led them to a 1976 Super Bowl championship. The LA Raiders were a breeding ground for star power. Hall of Famers Ken Stabler, Fred Biletnikoff, Dave Casper, Ted Hendricks, Art Shell, Gene Upshaw, and Ray Guy head this extensive list.
Never
Tom
heard
Flores
any
led
of
this
those names.
ultra-talented team to become the
Is there? Let me know if there's people that are mentioned in this video that I should react to as a player and their highlights and stuff. Because so far, very few of these names I'm familiar with.
first wildcard team to win a Super Bowl. In their only Super Bowl in Los Angeles, the Raiders upset the defending world champion, Washington Redskins, who were also on this list. With 3 championships spanning a decade, Al Davis's black and white colors became synonymous with just win, baby. Cleveland Browns, 1946 to 1965. Even though the past 50 years have been rough for Cleveland, before the NFL merger, the Browns were always at the pinnacle of the league. Named after their head coach, Paul Brown, the Browns dominated the AAFC with 4 straight championships. At first, they were thought of as winning in an inferior league. However, in their debut season in the NFL, the Browns won the 1950 NFL championship, led by a quarterback ahead of his time, Otto Graham. They proceeded to make it to the NFL title game for 6 straight years. In fact, they played in the league championship every year during the first decade of their existence.
Wow.
That's a feat that will never be repeated. If Graham wasn't enough star power, the Browns dynasty produced debatably the greatest player in NFL history, Jim Brown. Brown won 3 MVPs, went to the Pro Bowl every year of his career, and retired the all-time rushing leader in yards and touchdowns. Near the end of his career, he led the Cleveland Browns to their last championship in 1964. Unfortunately, they've yet to appear in one.
So, Cleveland Browns were named after, I think it was Paul Brown, and had Jim Brown.
Since Green Bay Packers, 1929 to 1944. The Lambeau Leap would not exist. In fact, neither would title-town Green Bay, Wisconsin, if not for Curly Lambeau. Coach Lambeau's Packers dominated the infancy of the NFL. In 1929, he led them to the first championship in team history. They went undefeated, with the help of Johnny Blood McNally, a member of the inaugural Hall of Fame class. The 2 following seasons after, the Green Bay Packers successfully defended the title, and then completed a three-peat in 1931. Green Bay is still the only franchise to have a three-peat, completing the feat twice. In one more dominant year in the 1932 season, Green Bay fell just short of a chance at the 4th consecutive title. It was not until 1935, when they drafted Don Hutson, would they return to their championship ways. In the midst of revolutionizing the passing game, Hutson helped the Packers to 4 championship game appearances in the next decade.
If what I heard is correct in my head now, I've interpreted it. The Green Bay Packers are the only team to three-peat, and they've done it twice. But that says to me, it shows just how hard it is to win and to stay on top in the NFL. That in the whole history of it, there's only been 2 three-peats, and they've both been done by one team. That's phenomenal.
Passing game, Hutson helped the Packers to 4 championship game appearances in the next decade. This included championship victories in 1936, 1939, and 1944. The triplets of Hutson, Hinkle, and Herbert became the NFL's first dominant group. 6 titles and a three-peat later, the 1930s Packers became one of the greatest dynasties ever. Dallas Cowboys, 1991 to 1996. America's most beloved team and a dominant force in the 70s, the Cowboys had seen little success in the past decade. Enigma and flamboyant owner Jerry Jones bought the team in 1989 and immediately made himself the general manager as well. This move was widely criticized until about 5 years later. In probably the 3 greatest consecutive drafts ever, the Cowboys selected a Hall of Famer in the first round from 1988 to 1990, quickly turning their fortunes around. Jerry Jones proved doubters wrong, in the process creating the first modern triplets in quarterback Trey Aikman, all-time running back Emmitt Smith, and the brash, dominating receiver Michael Irvin.
I think all those 3 there I should probably react to. I'm at least familiar with those names, from movies and back in the day. But yeah, don't forget. Let me know down below if there's other names that you're hearing in the video that I haven't reacted to and should react to.
One of the shorter dynasties on the list, the 90s Cowboys are only one of the 2 teams in history to win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Just 2 years removed from a 1-win season, the triplets led them to a Super Bowl championship in 1992.
So not only is it so hard to win that only one team's three-peated, but I think he said there was only 2 teams that have won 3 in 4 years. Man!
They pulverized the Buffalo Bills 52-17. They defended their title in 1993, once again defeating the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl, while the Cowboys just fell short of a three-peat, losing in the NFC Championship game in 1994, then returning in 1995 with new coach Barry Switzer and a roster still filled with most of the players from their previous championships. They would defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Bowl 30, 27-17. America's team was clearly the team of the 90s. Green Bay Packers, 1960 to 1967.
Nice.
The second Packers dynasty to be placed on the list. The inception of the Super Bowl was coupled with the dominance of the 1960s Green Bay Packers. Known as the Packers 11, a group of Hall of Fame greats were led by arguably the most famous coach ever, Vince Lombardi. In the middle of some of the most legendary moments in football, Bart Starr quarterbacked the Packers to the final NFL championship in 1965. In 1966, the AFL and NFL agreed to play a game between each league's respective champion to determine who the best in the world was. The first iteration of this game, originally called the AFL-NFL World Championship game, saw the Packers defeat the Kansas City Chiefs in Los Angeles 35-10 in what would later be retroactively named the Super Bowl. To get to the second Super Bowl, the Packers defeated the Dallas Cowboys in a game now called the Ice Bowl. Due to the near-frozen tundra and low temperatures that the game was played in, Green Bay then defeated the Oakland Raiders in Super Bowl II, 33-14, becoming only the second team to ever three-peat. Some of the most
Actually, that's the point. I know you guys have got some pretty crazy snow games over there. Is there a snow game that I should check out? As a Australian Queenslander living in beautiful sunshine, don't see too many snow games.
33-14, becoming only the second team to ever three-peat. Some of the most recognizable names from the 1960s Packers include Jim Taylor, Paul Hornung, Ray Nitschke, Bart Starr, and Jim Ringo. The first dynasty of the Super Bowl era, the 1960s Packers have been enshrined into history forever. San Francisco 49ers, 1981 to 1994. Genius play caller and head coach Bill Walsh changed the offensive landscape in football with his West Coast offense. The pioneer for how today's game is played, it took a quarterback that perfectly suited the play style in Joe Montana to make it really click. Drafted during Bill Walsh's first draft in 1978, it wasn't until Montana led the then biggest comeback in history, 28 points, in 1980 that he cemented him as a starter. In the first season as the full-time starter, Montana, alongside an upstart group of receivers and defenders, propelled the 49ers to a 13-win season. Facing the Cowboys for a shot at the Super Bowl, Joe Cool brought the 49ers down on the field on a last-minute drive to win the game. Fading backwards, he lifted a ball high into the end zone for a play that would forever be known simply as the catch. Tight end Dwight Clark climbed to snag the ball, earning them a Super Bowl berth. They beat the Bengals to win their first Super Bowl. It would take a few years and emergence of the greatest receiver in NFL history, Jerry Rice, but the 49ers would return for multiple championships. The 1984 Niners won 18 straight games, a then NFL record, on their way to a second Super Bowl. Niners won 18 straight games, a then NFL record, on their way to a second Super Bowl victory. Despite a grueling quarterback controversy between Montana and the athletic Steve Young, the dominance of Jerry Rice helped Montana once he returned from injury-plagued seasons to reach the 1988 Super Bowl. Down by 3 with little time left, Joe Montana orchestrated a 92-yard game-winning drive that ended with a pass to Jerry Rice to win their third title in the 80s. Walsh retired, but the Niners won another Super Bowl in 1989. After a failed three-peat, the incumbent Steve Young became the starting QB. In one last shot, the Niners loaded up in free agency. Steve Young got him over the hump, winning a Super Bowl after dealing with the pressure of never winning the big game. Spanning multiple coaches and Hall of Fame quarterbacks, the Niners created the template for the #1 team on this list, New England Patriots, 2001 to 2019. With parity at an all-time high in the free agent era, the Patriots' success in the last 20 years is unprecedented, to say the least. Before Tom Brady, only 2 teams had won 3 Super Bowl championships in 4 years. Led by the duo of Brady and Belichick, the Patriots have done it twice themselves, once in each decade. The working relationship of the two rocketed the Pats to 6 Super Bowls, surpassing the previous record of the second-ranked dynasty on this list, the San Francisco 49ers. But before the Patriots went on to win 11 straight division titles and play in 9 Super Bowls, the unknown 6th-round pick Tom Brady came in to replace an injured Drew Bledsoe mid-season in 2000. Against all odds, Brady led the Patriots to a Super Bowl victory over the highly favored St. Louis Rams in 2001. This was just the beginning of a 20-year reign over the NFL. Belichick and Brady have won more playoff games than 27 other teams have in their entire history. Following the first set of dynastic championships in 2001, 2003, and 2004, Patriots fans had to wait nearly a decade before Brady and Belichick could win them their 5th Super Bowl title. The Patriots had to overcome the greatest deficit in Super Bowl history, down 28-3. After critical plays made by the Patriots' stingy defense, Brady led a drive to force overtime for the first time in Super Bowl history. He then led them down the field for the win. He and Belichick would win one more Super Bowl together, becoming the all-time winningest Super Bowl franchise in history. This is why they are the #1 ranked NFL dynasty of all time. Who's your favorite team? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Wicked! Okay, so I was wildly wrong with a couple of predictions, and I got probably about 4 or 5 of them right. Probably shows my recency bias, though, talking about the Seahawks and the Steelers and stuff like that, but obviously that doesn't qualify as a dynasty. But yeah, anyway, that was good for me and very informative. Gave me a lot of info. If there's players in there that you think I should react to, by all means, drop them in the comments below. If you liked the video and you want to see more, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.